yapping away.
There we go.
Uh, just yapping away over here. We already started from Live
Good.
before we hit that button, didn't we, Chris?
Yes, we did.
We
We're
sure did.
always yapping.
Always yapping. We always have something to yap about, but we have extra stuff, extra awesome stuff to yap about this time, Chris, because we are talking about the A Little White Lie movie, the movie version of Chris Belden's book, Shriver, and we now have theater information, people. Chris, would you know what? You're going to share this after the official welcome, but we're going to
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
you more, people. We're going to tell you more. Before the official welcome, Chris, I would love to know what you were up to this weekend. How was your weekend, Chris?
My weekend was delightful. What did I do?
That's how you know it was a restful weekend.
Well, I hung with some friends, and then Friday night and Saturday. Saturday, we just kind of hung out here at home, and but today I went for a pretty foot blistering hike.
A foot blistering hike? That
Well,
sounds
It
terrible.
was one of those hikes that I get talked into going on, and then and they promise that it won't be too bad, and then 2.5 hours later, we walked like 5.5 miles, which isn't even the worst part. It's just like it seemed like most of it was uphill.
Oh
So it was
my god.
delightful. It was a delightful day, and we're out there, with me and the missus and our daughter and our dog, and enjoying nature.
Aw, well, listen,
We
that
had a we
sounds
had a spectacular weekend, which half of which was spent in a hot tub, I believe.
yes. Oh my gosh, Chris. Well, I'm so glad you had such a lovely hike time in nature with your family. I'm sorry to hear about the blisters. Believe it or not, that makes me think about the fact that, with all the walking around that I did in my cute shoes, I don't have any blisters. That's a getaway weekend miracle, Chris. Well, that's maybe because I was in a hot tub so
Must
much.
be the hot tub.
Yes. So I had a fabulous weekend. I spur of the moment. Well, actually, I've been sort of dangling it as a little carrot in front of myself. Like, if you can swing it financially, if you finish all of your coursework or at least my final project, and I'm basically done with my degree, that I'm going at the end of the week, going, and I was able to swing it. And I just love it up there. My friend Jim introduced me to Algonquin, Maine, which is so gorgeous. Such a beautiful little seaside town, beautiful beachfront stuff, and this lovely little resort that has an indoor and outdoor hot tub that has just stolen my heart. And yeah, so the pics are on on Instagram and social media, and it was so great. I've been consumed with working on this degree. Some of you know I've been working on a master's degree in data science, which is quite different from my previous work. It's like represent a very big career transition for me eventually. But I'm super excited about it. And it was really hard. I had to learn coding and a lot of mathy stuff, but a lot of mathy stuff that's really fascinating and super duper important. And I've been surprised and delighted with how my background in language has actually really come into play with this particular degree. But anyhow, I had a
Well, I think
wonderful weekend celebrating. I finished my last discussion board, my very last one of the whole degree. On Friday night. So I brought my computer up there. I'm like, I'm done with almost everything, but I need to finish it all for it to be really official. And I did on Friday night.
poetry and data science, I think, who knew? But
Yeah.
somehow they go together.
It's amazing. Actually, there's some news making AI. I mean, it's kind of always
Oh yeah.
making news, but talking about chatbots at Chat GPT, and the craziest thing, you can make a request for it to write poetry, which is kind of wild. And I'm sure that poets are going to find a way to write poems in response to Chat GPT. But I think what's very interesting, especially, is natural language processing, where you're breaking down sentences into parts of speech and sounds, etc., which is something that I did for almost 10 years of teaching adult ESL, and also thinking about words and where they go and what they mean and how they sound is so much a part of poetry as well. So I'm fascinated to see where this goes, and I'm fascinated to see what my role is going to be in the world of data science with this interesting background of poetry, language teaching, and my new skills. So it's gonna be cool.
There's a book in there somewhere.
Oh my
Anyway,
God, Chris! Yes,
but it's 8:01. We need to make. We're late making
we're
our.
late. We're late giving the official welcome. My apologies. I was just, gushing about all
Okay.
my stuff. I'm so sorry, people. Welcome to FUMFA 121. It's a very special night. It's Poet Laureate night. We are super excited to have with us 4 Connecticut town poet laureates. We're just going to be immersed in incredible poetry this evening. We're so excited to welcome back Sandy Carlson and B. Fulton Jenis, and to welcome for the first time to the live stream Bill Hayden and Jack Sheedy. Their readings are going to be incredible. It's going to be an awesome evening. But Chris, tell our audience what is coming up real soon.
Well, let's see. Next week, we're not going to be here. We're going to be live in person on Friday at Eco Evolution in South Norwalk for our monthly open mic night. And we have a spectacular evening planned. It starts at 7 o'clock. We have 4 featured readers / performers,
Whoop, whoop.
including the great Tommy Hahn, aka
Dr. Tommy Hahn.
aka Dr. T.E. Hahn.
Ooh.
And we have our old friends S.K. Marr and Amy Martin, and also Chris the Leche guy. That's not me. It's the other. It's other Chris. He's a Leche guy. Music.
Awesome.
And then we're gonna have a whole bunch of people who are gonna be doing stuff as well. I believe Jack Powers is just maybe gonna be there. And
yeah, he signed up.
He signed up, and we've got some other powerhouses who are gonna be there. So yes, that's next week. And the week after that, we are taking the weekend off in order to celebrate the release of the movie version of my novel Shriver, which is unfortunately retitled A Little White Lie. But what are you going to do? It's still a good movie. And we're going to be seeing that movie's being released in various places, including New York City. We're going to be there Friday. We don't know what time yet, but keep your eyes peeled on social media. We're going to
be posting everything. We're going to be updating it as we know for more information. Keep your eyes peeled.
That's at Cinema Village on 12th Street in the Village. And then Friday or Saturday night, I'm going to be in Millerton, New York, at a screening at 6:30. That's at the Movie House. And there's director will be there. My good friend Michael Marin answering questions afterwards. There's Q&A. And then there's also a Q&A the next day, Sunday, the 5th, that's at the Bantam Cinema in Bantam, Connecticut. That's up there near Litchfield. That's a 1:30 screening followed by Q&A, and I will be there. And Kate.
I'm also planning to be there. I'm planning to be there Friday and Sunday. And
that's right. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just making sure they don't screw anything up. And
that's right, Chris.
But yeah, keep your eyes peeled on our Facebook page and Insta postgram.
Yes, I will be making posts and updating them as we have more information. So please check. Just save that whole weekend, that whole first weekend of March, and then you're not gonna miss anything. But it's of course, going to be in theaters maybe near you if you're not near us. So please take a look at for where
Yes.
it's in theaters. But if
We'll
you are
be-
anywhere,
yeah,
in
we're gonna post the towns, the cities it's gonna be in. I have like a tentative list, but it's not the final list.
yeah,
But it's also going to be video on demand, so anybody can watch it if you have access to a computer, which you obviously do because you're watching us right now. But
or
anyone
phone.
anywhere will be able to watch it, starting the 3rd of March. And before we get going, we got to just say hello to our
We
friends.
do. We have to say
Okay,
hi. I saw it. Midnight. Hey, midnight.
Midnight Poet is here, and we've got Ed is out there, and Mom and Dad are there. Marie is out there.
Dad.
Karen. Hello, everybody.
So good to see you all out there. We are so excited tonight, and we see your messages, and we love hearing all the love, and so glad that you're going to join us. So please, 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 keep an eye out for everything that we're going to post. We're posting the theaters across the country, and we're posting the events that Chris and I are going to be at. So we really, really hope we get to see you. Please post to social media and share about your experience as well, whether you're going to be with us or in your part of the country or the world getting to watch it. We thank you so much for your support. We're so excited. Anyways, we need to get started with our reading this evening. Without further ado, I am so excited to welcome Sandy Carlson. Hey, Sandy.
Hi there. Hi, Katie and Chris. Hi, everybody.
It's so great to have you back, Sandy.
Great to be back, Katie.
Wonderful, wonderful. How was your weekend?
It was amazing. The sun came out. I mean, when does that happen this winter?
I know, right?
Yeah, yellow was out there, blue. I loved it.
Lovely, lovely. All right, Sandy, I'm going to introduce you with your bio. Sandy Carlson, a writer and teacher in Northwestern Connecticut, is Poet Laureate of Woodbury, whoop, whoop, where she has lived for the past 25 years. Sandy just published her 5th collection of poetry, Bearing Witness to the Wind, a collection that celebrates reimagining life after grief. A member of the Connecticut Poetry Society, Sandy recently formed the Aranag chapter for members in Woodbury, Watertown, Southbury, Roxbury, and Bethlehem. Sandy also works with local seniors to explore poems that matter to them and to engage in group writing that builds a sense of belonging among participants. Sandy, who has worked as a freelance writer and editor, as well as a reporter, hosts the podcast People in Their Poems, conversations about poems that people care about and that inspire them to write. Her web address is sandycarlson.net. Take it away, Sandy.
All righty. Thank you, Katie, and thank you, everyone, for being here. I love being Poet Laureate of Woodbury. I love Woodbury, and sometimes as Poet Laureate, I think about what it means to belong to a place. And I think place is very, very important. Here's a little poem called Where You're From. Where you're from is who you are. Your mouth shaped by the sounds you hear. Sounds that teach you to make sound. The music, like the epic, is always local. Take it with you. Tell it so that others can claim it, and you'll always be home. Think of it like this. Your voice, like the wind in the treetops, feeds precious air into the length of your body, grows your roots like the slender fingers of a fine pianist into soft, secret earth that fits like a glove. Know this secret. Trees love music, and they know how to dance. This is how stories travel, and this is how you know that you are home. You hear them. All right, the beautiful weather we had and the unseasonably warm weather had me worried about my daffodils. And I saw some come up outside the door of my home. And then I saw my front garden, a patch of ground that gets a lot of afternoon sun, that the daffodils are ahead of schedule, ready to bloom. Oh, my goodness. And I stood there with my dogs on their leashes, and I said, go back. You don't even know what's coming this week. So that took me down memory lane and the routines and the rituals of cleaning up for spring. And this is an older poem called Spring Right. It is our right, my mother and I scrape our rakes across the front lawn, pulling spring up by the roots, eradicating the brown of winter and the frost-burned leather hulls of chestnuts. We in the grass must have room to grow and air. We are unhappy to let life emerge from death at its own pace. We prompt the sun to sit up straight in the sky and high just because we twirl our clocks forward and back. We are like the crows in our calling, a morning that slumbers in a crib of young trees set precariously in a brown hilltop that echoes yet with the lullaby of robins to the pale stars, a childhood beyond our grasp. A little walk down memory lane took me to an earlier collection I did in honor of my great uncle Lawrence Isbell. He was a submariner in World War II. He was outraged, like most of the country, about Pearl Harbor, and prompted his mother to allow him to go early and young, and he died in the Pacific shortly before the war was over. And I had a great uncle, his brother, who spent so much of his life trying to understand what happened to his brother and what it was like to be a submariner and all that. And I grew up surrounded by people who survived the Depression and understood what it meant to stand with people you love and not to throw things away. This is a little poem called Baby Gift. She prefers my arm to the new, I'll start again. Baby Gift. She prefers my arms to the new crib today. I prefer my tag sale rocker to the upholstered furniture today, though I can't reach my book from here. It lies on the coffee table, which is as old at least as the Second World War, and wobbles. It is part of our inheritance. The scalloped trim is chipped, and the top is scratched and worn. The Depression, uncles in that war, and the habit of buying extra sugar and butter when the prices are good, just in case, because you never know, even now, are part of it too. So are the kitchen drawers full of bread bag twisters, plastic coffee scoops that come with every can, cellophane produce bags, countless matchbooks and paper scraps that you never empty because someday you'll need it all. That table belongs to us in a time when a table was a table until it collapsed and couldn't be glued back into shape or even nailed. During COVID, bears were a problem in Woodbury. Problem for people who had a problem with nature. What we noticed while we stayed home was that the natural world was just fine without us and continued on its way without human supervision. And the neighborhood went from screaming about the bear coming out of the woods to screaming that the bear was coming out of the woods, meaning go have a look. And I think these critters are amazing the way they keep a respectful distance, and they deserve that we do the same. This is a little poem called Waiting for the Bear. Insects fill the dark with sound as they sense the sure coming of long nights, silent and solitary. I would sit in the dark and drown myself in this sound and wonder until the point of pure darkness about the bear the neighbors fear. Until that darkness comes, I would wait for the bear, who walks occasionally the edge of the woods, looks casually for food, and walks on. I have never heard the bear. In fact, nobody has ever reported hearing the bear. Solitary in a vast space enveloped in darkness, dappled with stars, also solitary and silent, but not necessarily cold and distant. I will sit and wait for the last sound of the last insect, and in the silence that will follow, hear the voice of the bear. Sorry, just lost my little page. Oh, I I teach high school English. I teach freshmen. I love teaching freshmen, and I love the the content. I love the mythology that comes into play when we talk about the epics, particularly the Greek gods, goddesses, nymphs, satyrs, etc., who parade their way through Odysseus's life and his adventures. And I'm always intrigued when I read criticism of the Odyssey that the women don't have a very strong role. They actually own the story because they tell it through their weaving and through the directions they give wayward Odysseus. And when you search out stories about the other characters, you find out that women have a lot of power because they are so rooted to the natural world and the gifts of the earth. And this is a little poem called Like a River about one of those lovely creatures. Who wouldn't want the arms of a poet, a healer, a seer, a sun god wrapped around her? To be safe, secure, beautiful, chosen, filled with the promise of life. Who wouldn't? Daphne, that's who. Pursued by Apollo, she prayed to her river god father to keep her out of the sun god's reach. Hearing her cry, Peneus empowered her to become the laurel tree forever. And then the sun god lifted her up, sang her song, healed his own broken heart, ended her fear, made her story one of boundless imagination, the kind we call love. Yeah, don't mess with those ladies in the myths. Fun thing about living in Woodbury is reading about what Woodbury is when you open up the New York Times. It's hilarious. We still walk to school and drink milk from buckets, and it's fun. There's a little poem called Peace and Rustic Beauty with a Sense of History, with an epigraph from the New York Times, May 12th, 2021. In the late 1600s, this Litchfield County town is more densely populated than its neighbors, with a quaint downtown and more full-time residents. Birds call time on spring. Wild fruit ripens in summer heat. Rich perfumes beckon. Come, walk the winding back roads, eat wild grapes, hear the rivers, feel the darkness fall, turn around and go home to soft indoor light. Why are you here? Someone asks. This is home, the wild dark replies. You know the stories. What you expect of others is that they too know. Birds call time and summer comes. There is only one story. We smell, touch, taste it. Woodbury is the domain of those who would know in truth exactly where they are, what has happened here, and the children, what they have done, and where they have gone, and what is to come. Thank you, and thank you for listening tonight.
Woo, Sandy! Oh my gosh, always so poignant, so vivid, so gorgeous, and I love that you ended with a Woodbury poem. Oh my God, how hilarious was that introduction? Like the way the New York Times sees Woodbury, and it is so beautiful and wonderful, but it's like, kind of hilarious, the attitude at the same time.
Yeah, we have electric light here, it's
yep. That is too funny. Just really gorgeous poems. The poem The Memory, the one where you were referring to your grandfather and that experience, and also talking about the women, the women of the mythology. I just love it. Really, really powerful, beautiful, poignant, and graceful stuff all at the same time. Just really, really lovely.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah,
I can imagine you as a high school English teacher that the kids really dig. Like
totally.
you're like the cool one. My daughter's in high school. English is probably her favorite class, but the teachers, it depends on which teacher you get.
There's a hierarchy of teachers that just like
your
incredible
life.
mentors.
Well, I like to imagine they think I'm cool, but imagination and reality, I think they might not always be in sync.
I don't know. I'm seeing it.
Thank you.
Well, I think, I think what Chris means here is that you definitely are cool, but that you have just this incredible spirit for, for poetry, for others, for this observation and incredible kindness that I think, a student who loves poetry and who loves writing is just gonna, attach to that for eternity, and I have my teachers who are like that. And Sandy, if you had been one of my teachers, yeah, exactly what Chris was saying.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice.
For real. But
I
Sandy,
don't need to
tell us.
sound like an old man, but a lot of these kids don't read that much today, and if you can like inspire them to read, it's really important.
Oh, it's the truth. It's the truth. Sandy, let's ask you a quick question while we
Sure.
still have you here with us. I would just love to know, what are some of the wonderful things that you are doing? I know we shared a little bit in your bio, but what are some of the wonderful things you are doing and have done as the Poet Laureate of Woodbury?
Oh, in a nutshell, oh my goodness, we have a really great project going right now in conjunction with the Woodbury Public Library, where we
Nice.
have this ekphrastic writing workshop that we do the first Saturday of every month. And the whole world is welcome to come and look at what the local artists have hanging in the gallery. We write our poems about it, and it's going to culminate in a book at the end of the year.
Oh,
We are so excited, where we're going to have the poetry, the artwork. The artists are going to write an introductory reflection on what it's like to be the subject of poetry. And we'll have the bios of the writers, an introduction from me, a forward from Marla Martin, our adult programming librarian. It's been really exciting. And the chapter meets on Zoom, and we met yesterday. And one of the members said that, he's always written poetry for his family and friends and enjoyed it, but he found fulfillment in writing for an outside audience and that interaction. So that has been our big thing right now. So anybody who wants to find out about, hook up with our chapter, they just need to get to the, search up Connecticut Poetry Society. You'll find the chapters because, and anybody's more than welcome to join us. That's our big thing right now. So thank you so much for letting me plug that, Katie. And just for your audience, I have the People in the Poems podcast, as well as with the library. I'm doing Woodbury Writes. So I've interviewed you and Chris for both, and just totally excited about it. Really celebrating Connecticut talent. So if any of our audience is interested in being a part of that, they can find their way to my website, sandycarlson.net, and they can contact me and we can work it out.
Absolutely. You have to check out People in Their Poems, just these beautiful, beautiful interview opportunities with Sandy to get to share more about your poems, poetry in general, and poetry that you love. You got to check it out. And if you are a poet, yes, reach out to Sandy. That'll be so great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. It's just so wonderful to have you with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, starting the evening off with a bang.
Home run.
Totally. Oh, it's always so good to hear from Sandy. But we need to welcome up Bill Hayden, Poet Laureate of Norwalk, my town. Woo!
That's great.
That's right.
Good to see you all.
How are you this evening, Bill?
Good, very fine. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Chris, would you mind reading Bill's bio?
It is my honor. Bill Hayden is a retired international logistics and customer service manager. He enjoys music making, writing poetry, and creating artwork. He's interested in Buckminster Fuller's and Paulo Soleri's and Barbara Marx Hubbard's world-building visions for humankind, and is currently in a group book study of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. He also enjoys Tai Chi and Qigong and various forms of meditation. Appointed Poet Laureate of Norwalk in April of 2019, Bill has attended numerous Fairfield County poetry workshops and readings in person over the past several years, and started his own workshop as Poet Laureate, which was meeting the first and third Monday nights at the main branch of the Norwalk Public Library, but ever since the pandemic has been meeting online via Zoom, and we'll ask him a little more about that later. And he plans to organize even more live readings, in-person readings. This winter and spring, maybe we can get Bill to come out to our in-person open mic night in South Norwalk. It would only make sense to have him there. But in
We
any
gotta have
case,
you there, Bill. We'll talk to you about it.
we could,
So is this my cue to take it away?
Go for it, Bill.
All right. Thanks very much. I'm happy to be with everyone tonight. I thought I would start off with a couple of poems that I memorized because it's nice to have a little eye contact with the audience, I think. This one is titled, I'm Not the One to Say It. I'm not the one to say it's poem's turn, and I sail aloft, shot whisked to gusty tacks from the taut line. My crow's nest pitches, then the flaw yields. My long glass inspections resumed. I glide, weathering this turn poem took. And here's another one, kind of a vintage one. Not sure what the title was, but here's how it goes. Too soon sun touchers wrap themselves about the worshipers, half done praying, lying, expect some spirit transformation. Outside, the fun-ripped body scorched and dying. War horror finds good humor wrappers strewn between the blades of green. Fine insects creep and sing, my works are clean. For every moonchild growing near the water's edge, fish deep. And here's a poem that grew out of my having lived for a while on Staten Island and riding the Staten Island ferry back and forth to work in Manhattan. And riding, sometimes I would ride down on the lower level where the engine room was nearby. Ferry crossing. Fog laps, grin throb, put rich tones in store. I hear a relentless motor needing passage to wild steel acres of the gods' own, making music to the motor-laden ears. As if our voices needed underlines of rotten churning pistons, so that an aging, flexible box of voice could, deaf to its owner's ears, reveal the torturous trail that took it over, confess to the chains its owner's body wore, and count the weight of every suffered link that kept him near forgiving motor needs, precisely where the engine calls for oil. See how he forces out the gun, its sacred petrol tears. See the thanks he's giving now for beautiful gears. And this one was written in the summer of love, probably before so many of you were born, back in the summer of 1967. And when I shared driving a Cadillac from Chicago out to California. And it's titled Down, Down, Utah Mountain. Not fascinated nor believing we came down the mountain, drift 60 or 50 the speed, lingers, hungry to travel, spent eardrums inflating with arms grip the wheel. Our inertia is speaking, believe now and empty, hereafter an omen. Unspeakable motion, down, down Utah Mountain. Gain valley, gain freedom to spurt or ignite. Night flight fascinating, the dark hidden onlooker outside our dropping down, curves and empty gas tank pouring two weary travelers' contents together. And we were sputtering down that mountain. We were not sure if we'd make it to the next gas station. It was kind of a wild, wild ride. This one is titled, I Am a Magnificent Creation. I am a magnificent creation, made to create an ever more fully magnificent experience of life. God makes no garbage at all. Wallace Stevens' Snowman poem's final words, and the nothing that is. Soul music turns a mind upside inside to taste the truth, that without nothing, something can't be known. The feeling of love, the feeling of fear, ours to choose, to live into love's great call, or afraid of our full glory revealed, withdraw, forgetting to unfold our love. Its light, its truth, Its darkness, our old friend. No lie, we're all creators just like God. And for this one, I'm going to aim the camera down just a little so you can all take a glance at this magnificent artistic creation and abstract design on the front of my t-shirt that I made after participating in a Buckminster Fuller Institute. That's www.bfi.org, a wealth of information about what's possible for humanity in the world. But anyway, this is the result of a kind of a course online, Bucky's Vision, and kind of just, it's an ekphrastic description of what I came up with. Green for the shoots my spirit sends up from within, yellow for mother sun's reflected brightness on each blade, an earthy ochre for brother hills receding beyond eye's sight, where winged sisters form curving planes intersecting planetary space. Above, celestial blues prevail, a clear sign, open sky, open heart, open to all sentient beings here on this watery sphere that we share. Coiled in a red-lined yellow whirl, focused heart's intention blazes trails where, like spirited voyagers to future worlds, champion one another's visions to come true. And this one is titled The Color of the Day. Inside the eyelid's orange glow, deeper truth appears. Masquerades die here. Evaporate mind's doubts, fears, anxieties. When flesh calls, the day begins. Fix breakfast shakes, an omelet. Load the dishwasher. Empty the dryer. Sift through the cat box. Drink some green tea. Take a deep breath. Remember how it feels to be inside, aware, alive. Pace to this breathing. Count 4 in, hold for 7, exhale 8, repeat. Drop shoulders, relax with a grin. Grateful to be a beginner, student on an ancient path. No sudden veering off, keeping balanced. Finding peace in conscious awareness, in stillness. In movements, fluid. Orange, the color of the day. And I'm going to do a series of ones, I think, that reflect my take on some of the things happening in our current world. This is titled African Taken Down, dedicated to Jacob Blake, who got 7 shots in the back and lived to tell about it. He survived that, but this is in honor of his experience. Resounds the airwaves crash. Loss of restraints, every hurting one's launching his own pain. Brick on pane of glass gives no power to resurrect this one who has been taken, African taken down too many times. So now these newscasts whip, a backlash swells to drown the living worthiness of wounds so deeply cut, the fabric may not mend. If ever reparations healing force could garner generations' loyalty, impacting lives that black, nay, gold, matter more now that leaders' tweets would separate, divide and conquer. That's the chant that rings a false gong clanging hate power should win. And this one is a reflection on the Ukraine war, pretty early in the war, when we were getting reports almost every day. Between bombs. The strong ones line up with heaviness, a load but few would share. Cast your burdens on the overseer and don't take them back. The lifting falls to everyone, no exceptions. When bombs fall, everyone looks for some strong ones. Here, load these cocktails into that van. Everyone does something. Run away to foreign lands to save the children. There's water. There's heat. Someplace to sleep out of the wind and snow. What about Aunt Sonia? She's all alone over there. What about little Pablo? We can't take him with us. His dog food weighs a ton. Everyone sees their options clearly between bombs. Decisions no heart should be asked to make are forced on everyone. I'll go and see if I can find a wheelchair for Aunt Sonia. No, you go ahead with the kids. The sooner the better. Leave everything but the most essential. I'll leave word with our cousins in Poland. Go now. And this one is, the title gives away the subject. AR-15 on my mind. I joy in the sight of happy children. I joy in the spring in their steps. I joy in the leaf piles they jump in. I joy in the slide that they ride. I recoil to imagine the catch at the trigger, how I'd put up my guard at the latch. I imagine me swiveling at the sight of bolt, barrel, and grip, how I'd pivot to hear the pins locking click. One child's lock of hair in the mirror. Another one catches a ball, eyes fixed on their laughing companions, enjoying some fun before class. I curse at the round in that chamber. I curse at that full magazine. I curse at that trigger finger's itch, releasing the latch on the safety, commencing the auto hammer of death. I cover the story for the broadcast. I put on my cap in the cold. I screw up my courage to guide me when speaking, trying not to recoil from the total lack of reason. This is titled Labor Day 2021. I like to write in the sonnet form, 14 lines of iambic pentameter, and I don't typically rhyme them once in a while, but if you may get a sense of the scope and the way that the lines flow. A secret caring for the earth unveils its true wild drive, a procreative core. If adopted, new global shifts of scales embedded in our consciousness would score a symphony, embracing all as kin, conducted by a future vision's heart for humankind, uniquely poised within. With bright blue skies, clean air, surrounding art that once created, sown, displayed, brings forth this shift away from havoc's wrong domain to sane sense knowing our magnetic north lies not in competition's frantic drain, but rather to our spirits, to our sharing spirits call to love that births a world that works for all. And here's one titled Inquiries into Mind and World. Off the voiced, underneath the rote, there growls some dogged delving, anima, animus, shifts in neural longing, glimpses of new minted belonging. Asleep, an old addiction flares out across a table, unfolding a dream that boldly asks the question, you're needing to know if it's meant to be, or does an unkind universe make misty the eyes, befuddled the brain, exhausted the heart, not knowing where one truly fits? Vote people everywhere, and we haven't faced the real coming immigration, numbering tens of millions, fellow human sufferers, displaced, homeless, washed up at what cost upon our coast? Of course, we just have to close the borders and they'll go away and die somewhere else, espoused by folks who call other countries shitholes. Dream, enchanted hearts full of love for each other, resisting any tug to respond to worldwide famine, homelessness, and strife. So who will help? Along the lines of World War II Germany, they pitched the lie, turned truth into fear-caught minds. The ending must reprise the start. Its growls won't go unheard unless we address the masses arriving at our shore. Who dare back a cheaper path than devoted throngs of voters, growing global yields of goodwill in our mostly rich, mostly generous American soul soil? And here's a poem. I've forgotten the name of the form that it takes. I couldn't recall it at the last minute. but it has some repetition of the lines in it. And so I can't recall exactly how it goes, but it's titled Setting of Yuma's Sun. And Yuma, Arizona is the town I happen to have been born in at the end of World War II. My mother and dad were stationed at a temporary Army base there in Yuma. And I was born in a kind of a temporary hospital in the middle of July. Pretty hot place to be born in that time of the year. So anyway, Setting of Yuma's Sun. Made machete paths through wet jungled maze. Stood on cliff, spied aquamarine for miles. Adventure love led me here, still calm days. My nature Pacific I plunged, crisp bays, blue purifying salt that buoys all exiles. Made machete paths through wet jungled maze. Instinctively I'd headed west, my days begun in Yuma's sun, war's outpost trials. Adventure love led me here, still calm days. Raised in White Plains, Mom sang all the sweet lays of childhood, counting toes and tickling smiles. Made machete paths through wet jungled maze. Worked 50 years of Mondays to Fridays, traded hiking boots for a mess of files. Adventure love led me here, still calm days. Before I took that plunge, I'd thought my ways would bear me gracefully to peace-filled isles. Made machete paths through wet jungled maze. Adventure love led me here, still calm days. And I guess I'll close with the last one, and I kind of tried to time this so it would take about 15 minutes or so. This is titled Madmen Manipulation. And again, it's one of those iambic pentameter kind of sonnet forms, not rhyming. You reach where unconsciousness steals the joy, preach trash to clutter-laden ears in rhyme, sneak past familiar filters that screen out addictive mind manipulation spun by Top Gun ad men hooked to rave reviews. As profits over people stain their schemes, man's feelings, woman's urges drive hawkers whose thumbs tweet once rich language into scum. Extinction by pollution, waste, and greed, disguised as potent, healthy, wise success. Would that a billion tweeters would boycott instead of hanging on a man's next word. Embrace a culture of hyperconscious beings, loving all that's true as it is. I want to thank you for letting me share some of those writings that I accumulated over the past couple of years.
Bill, just fantastic, fantastic. Such powerful, powerful pieces, and such a fabulous range of just meditative, healing poems, just really, really empathetic commentary, and just a little views into your daily life and the things that are important to you, and all of it just with such beautiful language and imagery, and we got to hear some forms from you as well. We really got to know you this evening, and I mean, Chris, isn't this already like such a luxurious evening of poetry? Like, we're just poet laureate after poet laureate.
I know. These are like the all-stars.
Totally. Totally, Bill. We just loved your reading.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
The only frustrating thing is that we don't have more time to ask questions, because there's so many that we could ask about these, these iambic pentameter poems that don't rhyme, the political slant on some of these poems and how that works for you, and some of these great lines. God makes no garbage is one that I wrote.
I am a magnificent creation.
I want to make a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt. God makes no garbage.
I love it. I totally love it. Yes, exactly, Chris. Bill, we really so enjoyed your reading. And that's the thing, we're just going to have to bring you all back at some point, for full feature readings. And Bill, we're really hoping that you will be an in-person feature at our Eco-Evolution Open Mic, but we'll talk about that offline, offline.
I've heard about the location, so I'm kind of gotten in mind to come along. So,
oh my goodness, that would be amazing. But Bill, while we still have you here, please tell us a little bit more about being Poet Laureate of Norwalk and what you've been doing.
It was off to kind of a racing start when I first got appointed. I read at the fabulous Nice Festival at the Seashell Park in Norwalk, which is a wonderful day-long international food fest and cultural feature. And I had a modern dancer interpreting poetry that I was.
Wow, so cool!
Now, I had picked out a few great poems written by others that I wanted to have interpreted as well, but let a few of mine in there. And then it rained. A huge squall came right in the middle after 20 minutes of this. We had more to go, but we had to cancel out because the poor dancer was going to slip and slide and break her butt.
Oh,
God! then I was sharing at the. They had a special booth at the Norwalk Art Art Show in the what's it called, the Matthews Park location there, which Jerry Johnson was nice enough to put together for a couple of years in running. And so I shared a number of poems there with others, and it was grand to make an introduction to the community there. And fairly soon after, it seemed as though, and I started a workshop at the library, as I mentioned in my bio, that met every first and third Monday for a number of months. And then the COVID hit, and we went online and kind of canceled out most of the live events I'd like to have. I started one this June. With a couple of poets as featured at the library, so that one went very well. And we had an open mic following that. Then I'm kind of trying to gear up to do another one, but I see other great ones being formed everywhere. There seems to be a lot of resurgence of this, which is great. I'm glad to see it's happening everywhere. You never know what opportunities might arise, but I like the idea of doing acrostic poetry workshops too. I'm big into that. I like to get people together at art galleries here and there. See what we come up with.
Oh, I love it. And there is so much great art going on in Norwalk.
Up in Woodbury too, which I'm very happy.
In Woodbury, yes, as Sandy was sharing with us. So much great stuff, so many great opportunities for acrostic poetry. Bill, just wonderful things you have going on. And I can't believe, I've been here this whole time in Norwalk and we haven't connected, until recently. So we're really excited to get to work with you more, hopefully bring you back for a full feature on the stream and a feature at our open mic. We'd just love to have you there. I really love your work.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. All right. Chris, already such an incredible evening. And we still have 2 more Poet Laureates to go.
I know. Well, we're only at the 50-yard line. Let's do it.
I know. Such a fantastic evening already, and we are very excited to welcome up next Jack Sheedy. Welcome, Jack.
Hi.
How are you this evening?
Doing well, thanks. It's my birthday. It's how I'm celebrating it. I'm on FUMFA.
Get out of here.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Jeez.
And I have a confession to make. I am an interloper.
Honored.
I have a confession. I am an interloper. I am not a poet laureate, so I don't know how I got here.
Oh.
I don't know either.
But
I'm gonna have to have a talk with somebody. Somebody gave us.
Sandy had something to do with it. Sandy Carlson.
Sandy snuck you in, did she?
Sandy.
Well, you know what? But that's Jack. We're still incredibly honored to have you, and that could also be because if that is the case, that I've been very consumed with my final project. But it's your birthday.
It's your birthday and you're a future poet laureate. I'm predicting right now
Oh boy.
Guarantee
that
that
wherever
it
you're
is.
at, you're going to be a
But
poet
my
laureate.
town of Harrington does not have a poet laureate, so maybe.
Well,
who
okay,
knows?
then you right now I dub you the poet laureate, and
All right.
therefore you are.
I think it is. I think this is the moment. I think Chris and I are pretty much
I'm calling my
deciding that you
first
are.
husband right away. All right.
That is too
Get the
funny. All
card
right, Jack,
printed.
I'm going to read your bio for our audience. I don't know how we missed that, but I love it. All right, Jack Sheedy is the author of Guardrail Nikes, which was a winner in the Warner Theater's Connecticut One Act Play Festival in Torrington, Connecticut in 2000. His memoir, Sting of the Heat Bug, was published by Signalman Publishing in 2012. In 2020, he published Magical Acts in Two Suitcases, a collection of essays. In 2021, he published a chapbook, The Wanting Place. As a journalist, he has won awards from the Society of Professional Journalists, CT chapter, and the New England Newspaper and Press Association. His poetry has appeared in numerous journals and anthologies, in addition to his chapbook. He is a former news editor for the Catholic Transcript, the magazine of the Archdiocese of Hartford, and a former publicist for the Nutmeg Conservatory for the Arts in Torrington. I'm hearing a lot of places in Connecticut where you should be the poet laureate, Jack.
Oh, shucks.
No, that sounds amazing. What an incredible bio. But anyways, Jack, we're still so excited to hear from you tonight. Take it away.
All right. Well, thank you all. Oh, I gotta mention everybody's name: Chris and Sandy and Bill and Barb and Katie. Thank you so much for believing in me and having me here tonight. As Katie mentioned, I wrote a chapbook last year called The Wanting Place, and it focuses on grief over the loss of my wife, Jean Sands, who was also a poet and a very good poet. She had 2 books published, one during her lifetime and one posthumously. I made sure that it was published. I'll just dig right in. The very first poem in that book is called Moments, and it sort of gives you an introduction to who this woman was that I was married to for 27 years. Moments. Decades ago, your personal ad intrigued me. A nice woman looking for a man of integrity and intellect, must like cats. I figured I qualified under the cats clause. We met in a clean, well-lighted place, sized each other up, did dinner, movie, nightcap, made a second date, bought a house. We did the writing life, features, essays, poetry. We wrote books, enjoyed local fame. We had our moments, laughing at old Peter Sellers movies, holding hands in Elizabeth Park, teary-eyed at Christmas lights in Rockefeller Center. Then you got sick. Surgeries, hospital bed, oxygen, walker, pain pills. We had 911 on speed dial. 911 had us on caller ID. Your pain robbed us of sleep and our sense of humor. You felt abandoned. I felt useless, unable to save you. But we did have our moments. These I will keep. A thumbnail sketch of our entire life together, basically. But then she died in 2016, finally, succumbed to a number of ailments, some of which were undefined. And, I went through a grieving process, which it never ends. You're always grieving. It's just a heavy weight in your pocket. But I had dreams and I had imaginary conversations. I talked to her picture on the wall. I just was, I went crazy for a couple of years at least. But I wrote a poem called As She Was Passing, and it's an imaginary conversation with my wife, who walks in on me as she was passing. She walked in unexpectedly 18 months after she died. I was emptying wastebaskets, noticing all the used tissues, remnants of a lingering cold I just can't seem to shake. "You're doing that wrong," she said. And that's how I knew it was Jean. I turned to face her. Sure enough, she wore that t-shirt, the one advertising books you don't need in a place you can't find. "You died in that shirt," I said. "I never died," she said. "Why are you here? I'm cleaning," I said. "Girlfriend already?" she said. "It figures." "Why are you starting in on me? No girlfriend, but why do you care?" Men, they can't get by on their own. "I'm getting by," I said. There was a pause. "Are you?" I added. She cleared her throat. That same sound that irritated me for 27 years. "How are the kids?" "They're fine," I said. I couldn't think what to say next. "I published your book," I finally told her. "You what? Why? It wasn't finished." Well, by now, the afternoon was ruined. So I said, "Gee, I'm sorry, Jean. I guess I should have waited." "Where is it?" she demanded. I handed her a copy. "Who did the cover art?" she asked. "Do you like it?" I said. "Yeah, it looks familiar." "You painted it," I said. "Oh." She looked out the window. "I kept all your poems," I said. "I just fixed punctuation. You always sucked at that." She turned pages slowly. She sniffed but said nothing. "You kept my title," she said finally. "Close but not touching," I said. "It's what you wanted." She sat in her recliner. Our cat Bindi sniffed her leg. "I'll make tea," I said. "It's 2 years old, but I have to go," she said. "I was just passing." She walked out the door, then turned. "Why did you publish it?" she asked. "I don't want you to be forgotten," I said. Then I gave my wife a hug, a kiss on the cheek. "My life has changed," I said. "It's good to see you. But really, next time, please call first." And then about a year later, I had a dream. And, well, I call this butterflies. 1 year later, your posthumous book at my bedside. Finally, I dream of you. Not the woman I met 30 years ago when you were slim, sexy, always moving, taunting me to keep up. Not the Jean of 20 years ago when you wrote features, taught poetry to kids, essay writing to adults. And not the Jean of 10 years ago, writing that first book, feeling a little joint pain, but laughing through it all. In my dream, you were the frail woman I lost, the woman who ached all over, needed my arm to lean on. "Let me walk to the hilltop," you said last night. You wanted to walk those 100 steps, wanted to reach that green meadow, glimpse a deer, fruit flies, butterflies, feel the sun of a bright morning. I offered my arm. "I can do this," you said, and walked out of sight to the hilltop. You did it without oxygen, without walker, without cane, without me. "It's beautiful," I heard you say. "There are butterflies," I heard you say. I'm going to make a little change of pace, lighten things up a little bit before I close with one last poem. This is kind of self-explanatory. It's called the Open Mic Sign-Up Sheet. 1. The man who rhymes dust with must, pink with stink, belly with jelly, and smiles as he ends each couplet as if to say, see what I did there? 2. The woman who interrupts her own poem to say, that's an example of assonance as opposed to alliteration. 3. The bent old man in an overcoat whose most memorable line distracts you from counting the panes of glass in the archway above his head. 11? Why 11? 4. The heavy young man who sways from right to left, as if waltzing with each of his love-forsaken verses. 5. The seasoned reader with 7 volumes, each with 14 fuchsia post-it tabs hanging from the pages, but still says, bear with me, after each poem. 6. The woman who reads 4 haikus and 2 limericks, and then holds up a ceramic ashtray and says, this, of course, is a metaphor for uncertainty. 7. The woman who speaks alternately in C sharp and A natural, never straying into B flat or C F sharp, elongating certain syllables seemingly at random, never projecting at greater than 38 decibels. 8. The author of this poem, trying to convince tonight's listeners that he's talking about other open mic events, certainly not tonight's, where no one is guilty of these crimes against the humanities. All right, I'll close with the title poem of my little chapbook, The Wanting Place. And once again, this is a conversation, imaginary conversation with my wife who has already passed away. It's an iambic pentameter. We alternate lines. There are 2 voices in the poem, my wife Jean's and mine. She reads a line, I read a line, and so on. And all the lines are iambic pentameter. The very last 4 last lines in the poem belong to Jean. So Jean starts. I'll try to make 2 voices. I'll see how I can do. I usually have a woman read with me on this, but I'll try to wing it. You're asking me? How do I know you'll listen? Damn it, Jean, I'm asking your advice. Oh, why ask me now? I died 2 years ago. I don't know where to turn for dating help. So when you mentioned, is she right for you? That's why I'm asking. I don't really know. You don't know much about her. That's not good. All right, I'll simply cross her off the list. A list? Of course, you always kept great lists. For which you mocked me. Here, check number 2. Just number 2. You like this woman, why? She's fun, creative, always on the go. I see. Well, that's great, but wasn't I like that? And didn't I fall for you because of it? So, did she fall for you? I'm only asking. I don't know, but we're friends. I just don't know. All right, who's next? Show me your number 3. Oh, this one's a lot of fun. She makes me laugh. Oh my God, no. She's not your type at all. I know that. She's just on the list. I have to say, Jack, I just have to say, oh, here it comes. I should have known. A lecture. I have to say, I should have stuck around. It shook me when you died. I'm all messed up. I think you were not ready when I died. We're never ready. Living's all we have. I should have stayed. I should have stayed for you. That's very kind. I can't get used to that. Maybe because I haven't shown much kindness. At first you did. Your kindness died before you. You know my sickness killed my kindness, don't you? I've always known that, Jean. Of course I know. I was a bitch. My pain just overwhelmed me. I think you know I know that and forgive you. These other women, will their kindness last? How can we know? Will my own kindness last? Don't make me cry, Jack. I don't have a Kleenex. No Kleenex for the dead? That's so unfair. You still can make me laugh. I should have stayed. I hear your laughter in these other women. You only see them from a wanting place. A wanting place. You still can turn a phrase. But so can you, Jack. Isn't this your poem? It sort of is, but isn't it yours too? I think it helps you that you think it is. I think it does, but Jean, I need a partner. She will appear. These women are for practice. I'll let them know that. They will be delighted. Shut up and listen. Don't expect so much. Do I expect or do I only wish? No woman wants a man who needs too much. No woman needs a man who wants too much. Slow down a bit. You'll know her when you see her. We did it right. You'll do it right again. Thank you.
Jack, so beautiful. I'm like crying, but I'm laughing. Just
I know, right?
fabulous, fabulous work. Harwinton, are you listening? Why don't we have an official poet laureate? We dubbed you the unofficial citizens dubbed poet laureate of Harwinton just now. Jack, what an incredible reading, Chris.
Wearing the crown.
The campaign, the campaign starts tonight. Everybody needs to write into Harwinton and nominate that. And what can they do? I have to say yes. No, that was fantastic. And you know what? There's so many people. There's so many people who have lost a loved one, who would, get so much healing from this work.
I have a happy ending from all this.
It acknowledges the pain, and but it also is funny, and anyone could identify with it who's lost somebody. It's so fantastic.
I do have a happy ending.
That's good.
The number 2 on the list, I'm engaged to now.
Oh, congratulations! That's awesome.
That's number 2 on the open mic sign-up sheet. It's the number 2.
No.
Okay.
Jack, what fabulous work. We really saw so many real people in these poems, and it was so funny, so clever, so touching at the same time. We just awesome work. We're going to need to have you back for a full feature. And yes, please. And if you can make it down to Norwalk one Friday evening, we have these in-person events, and oh my gosh, it would be so cool to hear your poems in person as well.
Yeah, you might get another poem out of it.
I may.
We have.
I'd love to do that. Sure.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Well, Jack, tell us more about your poetry life. I know you're just a newly unofficial poet laureate of Harwinton, but tell us more about your writing life and how you share your writing and how you publish. Just give us in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, well, I belong to the Owl Poets, which is Owl is Oliver Wolcott Library, which is where we usually meet. There's a lot of good poets in that group. Jim Kelleher is an old timer there from Goshen. Nice. Another worthy poet laureate who is not a poet laureate because Goshen does not have a poet laureate, and that's where he's from, but he should be, So I belong to that group. I belong to the Authors Guild. I wrote a memoir, Sting of the Heat Bug, but it's also based on grief, the death of my sister. Oh. And it talks about the first 60 years of my life. Wow. And I followed that up with Magical Acts in 2 Suitcases, which is, can't see that too well.
Nice.
Capture of Essay. And the cover was designed by Wendell Miner, who you may know did David McCulloch's books.
Oh, nice.
Cool. And then I wanted to do a full-length poetry volume, But Jim Kelleher told me that my strongest poems were the Gene poem, and so I should
Ah,
focus on those. So I started out with a chapbook.
nice.
So yeah, but I've been writing ever since I was 12.
Ah,
I just didn't start poetry until later in life because I didn't think. Well, poetry doesn't, as you know, it doesn't pay a lot of money.
oh,
But
nope.
if you write
It sure doesn't.
if you write articles and books, sometimes you can you can make a little money that way, make
Yeah,
a living, a
that's
scant
right.
living. So, but poetry comes from deep feelings, deep emotions. And so this just kind of bubbled out of me after Gene died. And I said, okay, you're the poet, you were the poet, and I let you be the poet. But now I'm the poet. So,
Oh, Jack,
well,
that is just beautiful. That is just really, really beautiful. Jack, you have to go on Facebook, on YouTube. We're seeing such awesome comments, so much love in the chat for you right now.
wow.
We have M.A. Dennis, a poet who's coming up in a few weeks here on the stream, just loving the whole evening, but really, really loving your work. And I thought this comment was particularly fun. Oh my God, you as sure as furniture has dust, you must repeat that line. No woman wants. I thought that was just great.
No woman wants a man who needs too much. No
Ah,
woman needs a man who wants too much.
that's great. That is just great. Well, Jack, it was such a pleasure getting to hear you read, and we'll definitely have to have you back. And, congratulations, a happy birthday, and congratulations on being the new unofficial Citizen Step Poet Laureate of Harwinton.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Awesome. Well, Chris, what an evening it has been already. And we were a little bit worried that B. Fulton Jenness wasn't going to make it due to some kind of difficult circumstances today, but she's in the
Here
house.
she is.
Welcome, Barb. Oh, Barb,
she's
you're
on
muted
mute.
from your end. Oh,
Unmute. Well, you think
There
after
you go.
all these years in the pandemic, I would have figured that one out by now, right?
Wow.
no worries.
You got a long time.
One mute for old time's sake. Like we had to do that so many times.
That's right. That's right. I'm so
Oh.
glad we made it back. This is such a pleasure to be here with you two and the poet, including the non-official but now official poet laureate. It's great to be here.
That's right.
I made it.
Thank you so much, Barb. It's been such an incredible evening so far, and we can't wait to hear your reading. Thank you. I know it's been a hard week, but thank you so much for being here and also for sending the recording, which we actually don't even need.
Don't need it now. Yep.
After all.
So,
and you are the poet laureate of Ridgefield.
Yeah, only for a little while. My tenure expires at the end of March. We're still looking for a replacement. So if anyone knows a poet who lives in Ridgefield, please have them check the Ridgefield Library website for information on how to apply. Because
I've been racking my brains. I know a lot of writers, but I don't really know any poets.
If believe me, it's a wonderful thing to do. I have had such an incredible 3-year stint. It's just, I've met so many people. We've had so many amazing events. It's just, we're trying to downsize and we're maybe moving. And, I just didn't want another 3-year commitment, although I would love to. But anyway, so if you know someone, please send them our way. And
Definitely. All right. Chris, would you introduce B. Fulton Jenness with her bio?
Of course. B. Fulton, B as in Barb. B. Fulton Jenness is, for at least a little while longer, Poet Laureate of Ridgefield, Connecticut, where she also serves as Poet in Residence at the Aldrich Contemporary Art Museum, a very cool art museum. Her poems have appeared in the Comstock Review, Tupelo Quarterly, The Night Heron Barks, Limp Wrist, Tar River Poetry, Swim, Anti-Heroine, Chic, Extreme Sonnets, 2 and many other journals and anthologies. Her manuscript Mammoth Spring was a finalist for the 2021 2 Sylvia's Wilder Prize, as well as the Small Harbor Press Laureate Prize. Her chapbook, Blinded Birds, from Finishing Line Press, highly recommended, was recently awarded the 2022 International Book Award for Poetry Chapbook. A poem from that chapbook is a 2023 Pushcart Prize nominee, as is her poem Glyphs of a Gentle Going, which won the 2022 Lascaux Prize for Poetry. Very impressive. Take it away, B.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to start off with all of these are new poems, which is kind of fun because I've been reading a lot of these over and over and over, which is wonderful. But I love also reading new work. So even if you've heard me read from Blinded Birds, none of these will be familiar, which is kind of fun. And you'll see a couple of shifts in direction for sure. This first one is actually a response to gun violence. And not only gun violence, but mass killings. And then I got thinking about, well, you know, all these people have lost their lives, and then what happens next? Well, in some states, they're pushing for the death penalty. So, you know, where does this all trickle off to? So this one is a very metaphoric take on that, called The Taste. The Taste. At the corner of Park and Pine, my sisters and I saw that scruffball husky wrap its lazy jaws around the steward's deaf white cat, then shake and shake until the white fur went limp. That dog's blooded now, our father said at dinner. It'll never stop killing cats. And so it was. 3, 4 more dead shook cats appeared on neighbors' lawns before an unknown driver took matters into hand and plowed over the husky one morning before the school bus came. I had a fondness for cats, but also tossed sticks for the friendly husky whenever we passed by. So I wondered, who would kill the driver for killing the husky, for having the taste for killing cats? This next one, I don't know if you're who in the audience is familiar with Marie Kondo, who was like the queen of the tidy house. And her premise is, if you don't derive great joy from it, get rid of it. Well, she recently had an interview where she said that her house is a mess now because she has kids, which kind of brought a chuckle to my throat. So this one is called Accumulation. I am a hoarder of joy, the trinkets of having had. I build shelves from ceiling to floor, every spare space a mouth awaiting teeth. I showcase my trophies like taxidermied heads. Look, here is all I have loved. There is nothing here I can surrender. Without these reminders, I would forget my life. Where and when, who and whom. Do not ask me to give up these relics, these bones. I have already fasted, already buried enough. The next few poems, or 3 poems, are a series. They're very narrative, very storytelling poems. They are based on somewhat true to life events from my childhood, but I tried to give them also an ironic swing at the end. But this first one is called What Doc Wilkie Wanted. 3rd generation country physician, downstairs office in a dilapidated Rensselaer triple-decker. He left cigarettes burning on the back of toilets next to the paper cups meant for our urine samples. Doc took to riding a Harley on back roads after work, helmetless, lit cigarette dangling from his lips, tie blown back over his shoulder, never waved. What a clown, our father muttered. But when the big horse barn appeared in Doc's west field, we knew he'd had his fill of chicken pox and chest colds. Next, hay mowing equipment, an oversized corral, green John Deere tractor. Then a hand-painted sign, rodeos here Saturdays. Call Doc, HO 4545. We were 2,000 miles from a stockyard, but by God, a horde of horse-hauling trailers appeared that weekend. We watched big-ass men in jeans and pointy-toed boots race reluctant horses around barrels, toss ropes at anemic calves. We never saw Doc Wilkie ride one of his Palominos, much less appear on horseback for the Saturday crowd. But he stood in the lowest rung of a split rail fence, tipped his high crown felt hat at each competitor, waved hands clad in fringed white leather gloves at the crowd. The rodeos petered out, then died forever by fall. The next time Strep Throat sent me to his office, Doc Wilkie was just a doctor again, white coat, clean fingernails, stethoscope. The smell of disinfectant skulked in the air. A cigarette slowly died on the toilet tank. This one is Helen Sager's eggs. Her eggs cost a nickel more than store-bought. Still, our parents remain loyal customers after an embolism filled Charlie's brain with a cloud of hot death. 60 cents, Mert, just laid this morning, Helen always vowed, thrusting a ratty egg carton into our mother's hands. Helen counted the coins in her palm as she shuffled back to the farm in her 2 large boots. More than once, a sulfury miasma fouled the kitchen air after one of Helen's eggs was cracked on the skillet edge. Fresh my ass, our mother cursed, or damn her old hens for these bloody yolks. At the first dance of freshman year, I was caught smoking cigarettes with an older boy, sent home, suspended for 3 days. My mother didn't speak, except to bark terse orders. Wax the kitchen floor, hang up those damn clothes, get your crap off the table. But on Sunday, Helen leaned over the back of our pew, whispered, word gets around, chuckled, flashed me a shame on you look, wriggled back on creaking wood. Through hymns, prayers, sermon, my mother's face didn't change. Back at home, she rifled the pantry shelves, stuffed egg cartons into a paper sack, huffed off to the burn bin, lit hungry flames to devour them. I shuffled out, stood beside her. Sorry, I managed at last. She turned to study this thing that had sprung from her, this egg turned flesh and fault. Helen wanted those cartons back, she said. We watched the smoke drift to places we'd never been. To the English teachers in the crowd. Everyone had, in addition to teachers like Sandy, all the English teachers that are cool and wonderful, there's always one. and this one that I'm going to read about was actually both a wonderful, amazing English teacher, also someone that we really mocked to terrible ends. But here it's called Miss Manoni Demonstrates the Meaning of Socratic Irony. Her hair was the color of the ash we flicked in toilets between classes. We mocked her mustache and missing buttons, the squeak of her shoes as she paced, her horror at the first-person pronouns that sullied our essays. But then Eppie fell asleep on Silas Marner's hearth. Something terrible banged on the old couple's door after they made their final monkey paw wish. Madame Defarge knitted as heads thunked into baskets. Eyes maniacal, spit salvoing, hands flittering like bats, Manoni read it all in a one-woman ensemble of voices. We scorned her still, repeated rumors of her early life as a nun, but few of us arrived late to her class. In May, we waited for the hemlock to take its full effect, heard Socrates urge Crito to be sure Asclepius received the cock he was owed. Only Billy Hayes guffawed. Did they cut it off before or after he died? We glared at him, growled, read the footnotes, asshole. 1, cock, a rooster. 2, Asclepius, Greek god of healing. Then we watched Miss Manoni weep for the wise man's gratitude, for the way that death could heal a life. A couple of poems, one about my father and another about my mother. They're not my usual dystopian family poems. They're quite endearing, but this one's called My Father's Land. 120 acres of solitude, nothing but woods and wild things. He bought it all for $12,000 in 1951, dirt cheap even then, because nobody wanted to live that far from anywhere. Growing up, we hated it. All that nothingness, nearest neighbor a quarter-mile away, unseen beasts crashing through bramble, the stuff of childhood nightmares. Our mother hated it too, amputated from her city friends, left alone and adrift all day with 3 mewling kids in a world without cultural color, drama, dazzlement. None of us understood his attraction to that vast tract. Not until years later, after his passing, when I walked the property with siblings, realtors, appraisers, those eager to claim my father's land for themselves, discovering secrets he'd known about all along. The camouflage of dappled light on forest floor, the gush and gurgle of bolting streams, the rock walls built by farmers long since buried beneath its rocky soil. Wonders I neither fathomed nor considered as a child. Father, how I wish we could walk your woods together now. You silently signaling to arrowheads, fossils, ginseng, a midden of bottles and bones, the discarded rack of a 10-point whitetail buck, a pink lady slipper orchid about to break bloom. But your land belongs to others now, and you are in the company of the farmers who preceded you in owning it, farmers who sleep now, if not warmly, then at least peacefully, beneath a thick blanket of leaves, the genus and species of which you surely would have known. Another part of the legacy lost to me now. For my one from my mom, and then I'll end with the final poem. This one is called Memento Mori, Eyeshadow. A rare night out, black sheath dress, shaved legs aglow through seamed nylons, heels, not what I knew you to wear, ragged sweatshirts, mended double knit pants. Do my eyes, you insisted, seeking an experienced hand. Yours, a face that knew lipstick only on Sundays, the waxy scarlet cylinder worn to a concave nub. Approaching your closed lids, wielding a foam wand dusted with cheap teen eyeshadow, I trembled at your expectations. But worse, do you remember the crepe paper streamers we strung diagonally over the dinner table each birthday? Twisting helixes of color that drooped overnight, their jolly wrinkles undone by gravity, erased by time. It was like that. A swift swipe of color and your eyelid, dragged, taut, then released, sagged in a flaccid pouch. Hurriedly, I colored your other lid, pronounced you done, play swoon, Cinderellian change. 40 years later, I admonished the undertaker. No makeup. You were a woman meant to be buried, unadorned in a plain box, covered with simple soil, and be done with it. Katie mentioned that we had kind of a rough week. We lost one of our very, very dearest friends, and we're at his memorial service today. And this is to him. This is to my dear friend Lee West, and it's called Snowfall. It's inspired by once when I was visiting. He lived in Saratoga Springs. We were walking down Congress Street, and it started to snow, and he just started swirling me around, and I felt weightless and beautiful. And just this poem came to mind, thinking of that memory. Snowfall. How brief this urgent flurry we meet upon, pilgrims on a fevered flight into existence and out again. Released from heaven's belly, we shower the earth like manna, a galaxy of willing stars curdled out of infinity in a fast-forward moment of glad creation. Blown by the breath of God, we drift through black of night or glint of day to the upturned faces of those awaiting us below, welcomed or cursed, rejoiced or reviled, each according to plan. Alighting, we gather close and cling, drawn by bonds beyond our ken, interlocking our fragile arms in an exquisite embrace that celebrates the wondrous thing that makes us glisten so, but only for a little while. Called again to rise, vapors summoned home, we join the mist of surrendered souls, waiting, dreaming, daring to fall to earth again. So thank you.
Barb, gorgeous.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Oh, just so
Today-
gorgeous.
Did you read that at the?
Yes, I did. I did that today at the memorial service.
There wasn't a dry eye in the house there.
Oh boy!
I'm barely having a dry eye right now, girl.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
Barb, just always so powerful. This incredibly strong imagery, these, these family moments that are at once like just kind of like hard and cold and then tender and just full of these familiar images, just always so powerful in that way. And then this last one just like broke my heart and like healed it at the same time. It was so gorgeous and so graceful.
Thank you.
Yes. Barb, thank you so much. We have to ask you. We heard a little bit in your bio. We've heard a little bit, before, and we're familiar with what you do. But can you tell our audience in a nutshell, as Poet Laureate of Ridgefield, can you share just a little bit more about the wonderful?
I would be happy to. First, I have to say a huge thank you to Ridgefield Library because they are so supportive, and I think all of our public libraries are of poetry programming. Oh my gosh! And also the Aldrich Museum. Right, I hold regular poetry workshops there, ekphrastic and other workshops there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the library, just the other night, we had, it was so cool. We had an evening of rap, hip hop, and poetry, our second annual. We had 5 amazing spoken word performers there. Just an amazing night. I have there's a Ridgefield Poet Laureate Facebook page, and there's a link to the full video there, which is definitely worth a watch. Then we're also, including after my tenure ends, I'm going to continue doing a lot of poetry programming. And one of the things I'm working on, each month we have what is called Poems from Connecticut's Four Corners. And we have 5 poets. It's like 4 corners, 5 poets. I don't get it. Well, one's from the center of the state. So that's always the first Wednesday. It's March 1st, whatever that day of the week that is. March 1st will be our next one. And then also in April coming up, we have, I don't know if you've heard of the Connecticut Poetry Circuit, which is collegiate poets. And every year, 5 of them are selected by a panel of poets and professors. And we're going to be featuring this year's 5 awardees on April 12th. So lots of it's still happening online, which is great because then we can draw everybody from all over the state. And we got lots of cool stuff going on.
So much cool stuff, Barb. That sounds amazing. Listen, everyone needs to follow Barb B. Fulton Jenis on all the social media so you can follow all of the amazing events that she is doing. And those spoken word performers, just so awesome. And Barb, we're taking a look at your awesome lists of readers, and we're like taking notes over here.
I'm doing the same.
We've got a good thing going on here, Mark.
Oh boy. Well, thank you again, both of you, for having me on, and I'm so pleased to be reading tonight with Sandy, one of my favorite other favorite poets, and Bill and Jack too. So
absolutely, Barb. Thank you so much for your incredible reading, and thank you for being here tonight. I know that we are a smidge over time, but I would just love to bring everyone back up for just a quick Poet Laureate pearl of wisdom. Is everyone ready? Okay, it looks like everyone's ready. All right, just bringing let's just give a round of applause to all of our Poet Laureate. Sandy Carlson, Bill Hayden, Barb Jenis, and the unofficially official Poet Laureate of Harlan. That was honestly like a wonderful treat tonight. We got to do a citizen's dubbing, as M.A. Dennis put it in the chat.
Oh man.
all of you have to go onto Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and just see all of the comments and love. You just have so many wonderful comments out there. So please make sure to do that, especially on Facebook and YouTube. But we have to take this opportunity, having you all here, to ask you for a quick pearl of wisdom. Sandy, starting with you.
Okay, be subversive. That's how you get Jack Sheedy in the group.
Sandy, I never pegged you for subversive.
Color outside the lines.
That's a good.
Break the rules. Bill.
Hell yeah.
A pearl of wisdom for poets.
Well, I'd like to see more inter arts collaborations, like with poetry and dance, poetry and interpretive dancing. I think that's really a amazing collaboration and has a lot of power to it.
Love it, Bill. Absolutely. We love that. I'm super into that. I've been trying to get back to my poetry music project. Yes to that. Jack, over to you.
And well, hold on, Bill. If you come out and do the in-person open mic at Eco Evolution, Katie will do an interpretive dance.
Okay.
Yeah, 100% I will.
Don't doubt her.
You know what? I'm not a professional. I've actually, one time I did a reading where I had an interpretive dance, like a professional interpretive dancer do it. And it was incredible. It was awesome. So, Bill, I know what you're talking about. That's really cool.
I had to watch my page and the text that I was reading. I couldn't watch the dance. It's sad because nobody taped it, unfortunately.
You gotta memorize it.
Yeah.
Jack,
we'll just do that again.
Well, I don't have a pearl, maybe I have a rhinestone or something, but I just want to say thanks to everybody who put up with me tonight, and thank you, Sandy, for being
subversive.
I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of Sandy's. We're going to be working together. I think we're going to be doing the Woodbury Library thing that you were running. I just have to get my shit together to get, to figure something out. I've been busy, but my pearl or whatever is just don't give up. Poetry is something that's got to bubble up inside you. You can't force it. I don't think I can't, if I try to force it, nothing works, nothing happens.
Yep.
So just, if you have something welling up inside you, let it bubble out on the page until you get it right. So,
we love that, Pearl, Jack. And no, don't apologize at all. It's our pleasure and honor to get to hear you and get to know you and to do a citizen's dubbing tonight.
That's right. You think you're busy now.
That's hilarious. Good to see all of you.
Think you're busy now. Just wait till you're poet laureate. And
until the word gets out beyond this one.
What am I getting myself into here?
That's too good. And Barb, a pearl?
A pearl for poets or pearl in general?
Both.
We'll take whatever you got.
Actually, right. Actually, this would work for either. I would say tune out. I mean, you can get really swept away by social media, and not just bad news, but just even all the rivalry things in your whatever field you're in. Just turn it all off and go for a walk in the woods. And
bravo.
There you go.
I think we all agree with that. Listen, yes, tune in Sunday nights at 8, just right here, and then get yourself out of there, take good care of yourself, and get out in nature.
Yep.
It was such a pleasure to have all of you read this evening. You're all so incredible, and it was such an honor, and we hope to have you back really soon. One more round of applause, Sandy Carlson, Bill Hayden, Jack Sheedy, Barb Jennis, B. Fulton Jennis. Thank you so much. And Chris, we'll see everyone in person on Friday night, right?
We'll be there Friday.
Oh,
Friday night, 7:00, Eco Evolution in South Norwalk. We're going to have a bunch of poetry, prose, music, comedy, magic tricks, maybe some interpretive dance from Katie. We don't know yet. And then keep your eyes peeled on social media, on our Facebook page and on Instagram for details on the upcoming movie release.
Woo!
So March 3rd it opens, and we're going to we're going to try to see people, if we can get some people out, come see it.
Yeah,
Sounds
stay
good.
tuned for all that info. Have a good night, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
All right. Thank you, Katie.
Bye.